Fittipaldi.
Little Al had the fastest speed in warm-up this morning, so he has a setup that is very good for the race itself.
Early battle at the front of the field. Paul Tracy was in front. Then Nigel Mansell, Scott Goodyear, Mario Andretti. Mario has radioed his pitch and said that confrontation on the start was not his fault. But I'm sure, Bobby, that's going to be examined to quite some degree.
It's a place on the track where there's always a problem. If one guy doesn't give the other guy just a little bit of breathing room, those kind of things happen to start here because they go through that hairpin just before the start.
You're looking back from Nigel Mansell now as he has Scott Goodyear filling up his rearview mirrors. They come to a key passing area, but Scott Goodyear decides to sit and wait at this point.
And we've always got to remember, Mansell, remember the crash I mentioned. Is he going to pace himself? Now, it would look right now like he's going to pace himself. He's in there for the long haul. Also, when Mansell comes around that hairpin, he just went through. I want everybody to watch. He has a different groove than all of the other cars that are racing here, even the slow ones. But he's been the fastest guy most of the days.
Gary Gerald, an update pit side.
Well, we get a radio conversation. Mansell happy with the way the car is working. He told the crew, don't worry. He, being Tracy, is just using his tires up. So Mansell apparently is happy to run in second at the moment.
Paul Tracy just dusted off the fastest lap of the race at the conclusion of lap 7, 104 miles an hour leading this race. Mansell is now sitting back about 5 seconds with Scott Goodyear all over the back end of Mansell. There you see the battle as second place goes into the corner off of Seaside. Here's that corner you were talking about, Bobby.
Yes, and these two Lolas, incidentally, one of them, the one that Mario's driving, or that one right there is Mansell. That one and the one Mario's driving and Scott Goodyear's cars are different Lolas. The underneath part of them, where the ground effects takes effect, are different. They've done some side designing on their own.
So Nigel Mansell, who is so dominant in Australia, now is chasing Paul Tracy here in Long Beach, California, with Scott Goodyear looking strong behind him. And look at Mario and Al Unser Jr. as they go into the corner side by side. Remember a couple of years ago when they didn't get through there quite that smoothly. But little Al now moves around Mario Andretti and picks up 4th place.
Mario not quite as aggressive in defending his position there as we have seen him in the past. Whether he's chagrined by what happened with Johansson or thinking back to his connection with Little Al 2 years ago that you mentioned, I don't know, but he backed off there.
It's too early in the race, Sam, to have a contest like that, isn't it?
Yep, I'm glad they came out of it.
And Al Unser Jr. firmly in control now of 4th place. Mario seems to have settled back. They all must be concerned about fuel economy here, despite the fact that they ran the first laps of the race under yellow. Danny Sullivan, the 7 car, as he comes around the corner in pursuit of Fittipaldi. Just in front of him, Teo Fabi and Bobby Rahal. So 4 cars there in a solid battle now. And it is a fight for 7th place. Just ahead of them is Robbie Gordon. Take a look at Danny Sullivan. And look, here was a car that he had a great deal of trouble with at Phoenix. But Danny Sullivan now surging forward and around Fittipaldi. A good look at the rest of this field coming through. On board Danny Sullivan now. Again, a car that has not performed as well as they would have liked. They've had trouble getting this operation together at Gallus Racing, both for Little Al and Danny, and then they seem to have a breakthrough yesterday. Robbie Gordon, Bobby Rahal, Teo Fabi.
Well, there's a few of the teams that have not figured out the Lola chassis, the new Lola chassis, the 93s. The Gallus team was one of them, but their big breakthrough, ironically, came after yesterday. They made some changes last night. Both of the cars, Little Al and Sullivan, are going much better today.
Well, they got their cars late among the leaders.
Robbie Gordon with Rahal making a move, but Gordon darts to the inside and slows down. During practice, he had a problem with 5th gear. This gives Teo Fabi an opportunity to charge at the back of Rahal, and around comes Sullivan as well.
Well, you can see Rahal just pull over to the inside, blocking the other guys going into that turn, trying to protect his position there, Paul.
But what happened to Robbie Gordon? He pulls to the side on the straight and then seems to come back up to speed.
Here's the view from behind Rahal's car. You can see Fabi falling back. Here they come, Rahal on the bottom of the screen with Fabi in the yellow car.
No contest as they come off of Seaside and turn back, making that final left-hand turn toward the hairpin. Sullivan closing on the Pennzoil car. That belongs to Teo Fabi. They come onto the straight. tremendous acceleration at this point.
You notice how Danny Sullivan is really staying in line. He's getting all the drive he can get, trying to get a run right there. Now, he almost made that pass. He didn't make it quite, but he used the draft all the way down that straightaway, then whipped it out right at the very last. And boy, you can really see it on the onboard cam.
So Sullivan tries to make a move on tailfob. He can't get it done. Paul Tracy continues to lead this run. Nigel Mansell continues to run in second. Paul Tracy in that 12 car. Look at the lead that he has. We'll be back. During the week at the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach, they'll race anything. Pinewood Derby cars, you name it. They've had a great time with all the race fans and a record crowd here today. This is a terrific battle between Al Unser Jr. and Scott Goodyear for third. But the two key places on the track, as we look at the interval leaderboard here with 25 laps complete, the two key passing areas, the turn off of Seaside that they've just come through, and the Toyota turn number one, have both had yellows for disabled vehicles. Now, they were getting Scott Brayton clear of one, and it looks like Al Unser Jr. is just waiting for one of those.
The entire front straightaway, which is nearly 190 miles an hour, is all under yellow. So there's no sense in Little Al, for example, following Scott Goodyear to get in too much of a hurry, because it's illegal to pass right now until they get that car moved off the track.
You know something? You just confirmed something I've always believed. There's some serious damage there on Marco Greco's car. But as look at the work they're doing. They've got the whole back of the gearbox off and going to work on his car. As we came down the main straightaway, I saw a couple of yellow flags, Bobby, from the onboard camera, which just proves that you never see them anyway.
Well, that's about right, you know. Today they told Jack Arute they're going to move the yellow flags back 2 stations. Well, you're talking about the entire front straightaway now that they can't pass on.
But look at Al Unser Jr. now as he's closed up behind third place Scott Goodyear.
Well, obviously, both these men know that the minute the yellows come in, their battle is going to resume full tilt. The best Scott Goodyear has ever done in this race is a 5th last year. The best Al Unser Jr. has ever done is 1st, and he won 4 in a row. So that gives you some idea of the relative experience here. And Al Unser right now looks like the hunter.
Arie Luyendyk, he runs 16th. Buddy Lazier should be just ahead of him. Occasionally you catch a view of the Lazier car.
Remember, we saw Arie's crash just back of where we are here now on the track in practice yesterday. He's shaken that off, but he is not having a great season. Many expected a good deal more of him in this car than he's been able to show so far.
Still flags out in the turnoff of Seaside.
You know, Luyendyk right there in the Scotch car. There's a team that has Mo Nunn. I think is one of the best engineers in all of IndyCar racing. Came over from England. And he's not been able to figure out the Lola this year. Luyendyk, of course, is a very good driver, but they have been somewhat like the Gallus team, unable to figure out the new Lola chassis, although it looks like Gallus team has got it figured out today.
Yeah, because mechanically they have the same thing that Nigel Mansell's got. They're just not getting the same speed out of it.
And just behind that battle that we just saw, here is that ongoing battle now between Scott Goodyear and Al Unser Jr. in a fight for third place. And you can see Emerson Fittipaldi, by the way, from time to time ahead. 2 minutes and 36 seconds in the pits. They make the change on the car, and now it seems to be running with full boost, though he's about 4.5 laps behind the race.
Yeah, and that's the unfortunate part of it. 4.5 laps back. Emil may be fast, but it's kind of like he's not going to have a defeatist attitude, but only because Roger Penske is the boss and he says race.
Now that MyJack car there, that's Robbie Buell, who is sandwiched in between these two battlers for the third position. Buell actually running 17th. So he gets out of the way and lets Al Unser Jr. come by. Now Little Al should not be able to close in on Goodyear by the Toyota turn number 1 here. But by the time they get to Seaside, it seems like they are going to be right on top of one another.
Now, it looks like the track right there, that turn 1, Paul, is back to green again. They've got the car moved. So that means we're going to start seeing some passing at the end of the long straightaway, which is one of the better places to pass on this track. On board with Little Al. There's slower traffic ahead and the chance for Little Al to make a pass as they come to the end of this straightaway and make that right-hand turn. Little Al can't do it. He gets caught behind Arie Luyendyk. He has to move to the inside. He continues his pursuit of Goodyear.
There he is, taking Arie on the outside. Remember, when you ride with Little Al like this, you're riding with a 4-time winner and a man who is thinking, not so much that he's getting through these guys, but that he's got to worry about Mansell and Tracy out in front of him running 2 and 1 respectively.
The view from the Goodyear blimp over the track here. They screen down toward turn 1. They start down through the gears. There are slower cars ahead. And still Little Al can't get it done.
You know, and as we watch, Little Al's in a Chevrolet. The car on the right-hand side, the blue car just ahead of him, that's a Ford-powered car. I think one of the things we're going to be watching all year is Ford against Chevrolet. Chevrolet against Ford. And as we watch the blimp shot from the Goodyear blimp, you can really see that. Look at this. You can really see what happens to the engines. Just the engines. Horsepower down the straightaways.
This view gives you a tremendous opportunity to study the different rates of closures. They both move around Buddy Lazier in the Viper car, and now Al Unser Jr. gets back in contact as they come to the hairpin, and they should have a fairly open straightaway ahead of them if only Little Al can gain enough revs as he comes down the straightaway to get on the back end of Scott Goodyear's car.
Yes, he needs to get a little bit closer to get a good draft. Even though these cars are so streamlined, so aerodynamic, they still need a little help for drafting.
Listen to the gears. Over on Seaside, the battle now develops here between Eddie Cheever and Robbie Gordon. It's a battle for 9th place. Al Unser Jr. for the moment broken off in his fight with Scott Goodyear. This is the hottest battle on the circuit. Right behind Gordon, Teo Fabi and Scott Pruitt. Just got a glimpse of Paul Tracy in car 12, the leader of the race.
We watch Robbie Gordon come off of that hairpin turn with the rear end hanging out. That kid is really trying hard.
Whatever was ailing his car earlier no longer affects it because he's staying hot in the fight. Robbie continues to try to attack him. Let's get an update on what may have been Robbie's situation earlier from Gary Gerould.
Paul, we got a quick word with A.J. Foyt. They had problems with their transmission earlier this weekend. They think they've got difficulty with 5th gear, but they can't confirm it because they've lost radio communication. So double problems. They think it's the transmission that felt Gordon to fall back just a bit.
You mentioned earlier that 5th gear was a problem for him during practice earlier in the week.
But you know, Gary and Paul, I watched him come off the hairpin turn this morning and the car just stopped, literally stopped on the racetrack. So I just wonder if they don't have some sort of an electronic problem in the computer system somewhere.
Boy, look at that crowd as they come through the hairpin turn and back onto Shoreline. Scott Pruitt there in the 45 car. There's Mark Smith, who is having a great run in the Indy cars this year, though every time you see that 25 car, know that he was in an accident.